Hi to you, alumni and friends. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on tourism in Maryland after COVID-19. I'm Jenna Mills, the Director of Alumni Engagement Programs and a proud 2009 and 2016 graduate. Joining me today from the TU Alumni Relations team is Steve Rosenfeld, Director of Alumni Communication and Recognition. Steve is helping with our technology and will be helping answer questions as they come through the panelists. Before we begin the panel discussion, I just have a few notes. Attendees will remain muted throughout the webinar. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the chat window, the chat box in the bottom right corner of your window, and direct all questions to panelists. We will be monitoring questions throughout the sessions, and the panelists can answer questions at the end of the discussion. Please note this session will be recorded and will be shared with all attendees when it is finalized. I'd now like to introduce our moderator for today's panel, Louise Miller. Louise received her master's degree from Towson University in 2010 and is the Assistant Vice President of University Promotions and Events at Towson University. She serves on the Baltimore County Commission of Conference and Tourism and works closely with the Towson Chamber of Commerce and other Maryland organizations to partner on marketing and promotional opportunities. Louise, thank you so much for leading today's discussion. I am very excited about this topic.
Thank you, Jenna. I too am very excited about this topic since it is June already and summer is coming and many of us will probably not be leaving the state this summer. So I'd like to thank the Alumni Office for having this very timely webinar. I would also like to thank our panel and fellow alums for participating today. So I'm pleased to introduce today's panel and ask that you give a little wave so people can put a face to it with a name. Kelly Groff is a 1985 graduate of TU and currently serves as the president and CEO of Visit Montgomery. Marjorie Hampson received her master's degree from TU in 2002 and is the manager of tourism for Baltimore County Tourism and Cultural Arts. Susan Jones is the executive director of Ocean City's Hotel Motel Restaurant Association, and she is a 1990 grad. And our final panelist is Leslie Troy, a 2005 TU grad and the public relations communications manager of Maryland Office of Tourism. So thank you all for agreeing to participate, and I'm excited to get started. But before we dive into these questions, I think it'd be helpful to hear any updates from each of you as to where your county is in reopening and what that means for businesses in your area. Leslie, maybe we can start with you since you work with tourism for the entire state of Maryland.
Sure, absolutely. So right now, as an entire state, we are in a full force phase 1 of the roadmap to recovery. So what that means is that across the board, the state has allowed for the reopenings of what they consider activities to be low risk. So that includes some of the smaller retail shops, curbside pickups, deliveries with restaurants, carryouts, some of the more recreational activities such as golfing, boating, and of course, some of them still do have restrictions, but across the board, those things have been allowed to reopen. And then throughout that, each of the local jurisdictions have also been given the guidance to either allow what the state is allowing full statewide, or they can limit any of those restrictions.
Thank you, that's perfect. Why don't we hear from Marjorie or Kelly? Marjorie, we're having some technical difficulties.
Okay, how about now?
All right, that's better.
Well, of course, Baltimore County just went into phase 1 last Friday. Our restaurants, of course, are opened for outdoor dining only. They're following all the state requirements and restrictions with that. Of course, there are some that can't reopen because, of course, they have no outdoor area. So hopefully soon There may be some inside dining, but at the moment, no. Our golf courses are open, our public golf courses are open, and they do have, of course, restrictions as well. I have given Jenna a couple links that folks can go on and, always call before you go. I think that's the best solution, but our links to all of our, basic Baltimore County government restrictions are listed, as well as a golfing, which is run by our revenue authority. A golfing link will give golfers a little more info. Our wineries are open now for their not so much events, but as the folks can go sit, spaced apart and enjoy a wine tasting on the premises. They are limiting their amount of folks that do enter the grounds. We have 5 wineries in Baltimore County. All are following those steps. There is one winery that does not have a tasting room, so of course they're not offering anything at this time. But we are basically following a lot of the state's prior, executive orders, and we are in phase 1.
Thank you, Marjorie. And Marjorie mentioned about the links. At the end of the webinar, there will be a screen up that will provide you links to all of the panelists' suggestions on where to get more information. Kelly, why don't we hear from you? Oh, Kelly, you're all right. There we go. Nope, Kelly, you're muted.
Okay, is that better?
That's good. Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. We are also in phase 1 of our recovery, and that started yesterday in Montgomery County. We have 1 million people in our county, so some of our recovery will be a little lagging behind what happens at a state level. But the most exciting part, I think, for our residents is that any restaurant that has outdoor seating is now open starting today if they so choose. So we're excited.
Wonderful. Okay, Susan, talk to us about Ocean City.
Well, we don't have 1 million people here in terms of year-round residents. So when we first opened the beach and boardwalk on May 9th, our entire population in Ocean City is all of 8,000 people. So we sort of had a nice slow approach. The beach and boardwalk are open, and then we had phase 1 began on May 15th, which allowed for our golf courses to open, our boating and recreational activities on the water like paddleboarding, kayaking, jet skiing. Those guys are all open. We have carry-out restaurants, and then fortunately last Friday we entered that 1.751 phase and we got outdoor dining. So luckily we have a lot of really innovative restaurant operators in Ocean City. Those who only have indoor dining got really creative and decided to figure out how to put tables in their parking lots, and we worked really closely with our Town of Ocean City planning and zoning folks and the county health department to make sure that they were able to do that safely. So now we also have the outdoor dining. And last weekend, we had a lot of sunshine. So it was really awesome to see people out and about having drinks and dining outside.
So Susan, I'm going to stick with you. We've seen a lot of media coverage on Ocean City. I think fishtails is now more popular than ever. Can you talk to us a little bit about everything all the coverage you've received?
Sure. Well, fishtails, interestingly enough, was he's cousins with the person who designed the tables, and that particular production company was going out of business. So as a business that had no business because they only did events, the company said, what can we do to stay afloat? So they built these really cool indoor or outdoor tables out of inner tubes. So that launched Fishtails into all kinds of national publicity. And then sort of eyes became focused on Ocean City and what was Ocean City doing. Sadly, we have so many operators that are doing everything by the book according to the CDC guidelines, and they have implemented all kinds of workplace protocols for safety. But the media has chosen to only focus on those people on the boardwalk who were huddled together because at that time there were no other activities. So the media is really trying to find the negative, and they're focusing on those visitors who are willy-nilly and don't care if they wear a mask or not. But if you actually are here and you took a picture on a side view at the walk at the Thrasher's French fry line, you would see that there are cones every 6 feet telling people where to stand. All over national media, on CNN, on Fox News. They were done from a telephoto lens, and a compression was placed on that picture. So the media really has not been our friend at all. And I'm actually right now working with a photographer. He's in town today, and he's taking a documentary of all of the people who are doing things right. And I'm working on a press release to push the positive, so that we can hopefully have some positive press coverage.
That's great. It sounds like the city and all the businesses are doing everything possible to keep your visitors safe. So thanks for sharing that. So we have a lot of outdoor recreations, and they're permitted in the state. Do you have any guidance on how patrons can safely utilize golf courses, state parks, beaches? Kelly, I know you just recently in Montgomery County opened golf courses. How's that going?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The golf courses opening was a great way for people to start to get out, and the requirements are one person per cart, so everybody's being very cautious and very careful. I think that there's just a lot of pent-up demand to be outside as we move through spring and into summer. In Montgomery County, we have 400 parks and 90,000 acres of agriculture that is preserved. So we have a lot of wineries, breweries, farmers markets. So we're expecting, that to be pretty busy as restrictions continue to be lifted and people want to get outside. The counties, the states of Maryland, DC, and Virginia have also really tried to work together in their openings, because if we open and DC doesn't, and we're in different restriction levels, you can see a lot of people from DC coming into Maryland, which creates some challenges. So it's been a really good concerted effort. But I think that our strength in Montgomery County will be all the outdoor recreation that we offer. And I foresee that people will start to get out and move around and enjoy some, scenic drives or wineries or breweries.
Great. We didn't talk about, and we don't have anyone on the panel, but we have a lot of mountains and a lot of great trails in the area. Kelly, Leslie, can you talk a little bit about some other offerings the state has?
Sure. Yeah, we're very fortunate in Maryland to have such a diverse landscape, obviously from the beaches through the Chesapeake Bay over to the mountains. And we do have 18 different scenic byways across the state. And they're really great opportunities to kind of get off the highway and really, divulge yourself into the landscape. Right now there are, some challenges because of course things aren't fully open, but if you're just looking to get, a drive and kind of explore these different areas of the state and then get outdoors, because all of them include different state parks, natural centers, natural parks, all these different opportunities for you to really get out and explore. And one of the fortunate things is that June is actually National Great Outdoors Month. So from our perspective, we're really pushing out that messaging to get outdoors. And we've got an entire collection of just, again, different activities ranging from, those small recreational activities to these larger landscapes. And we're very fortunate, again, to be part of the Appalachian Trail, the Great Allegheny Passage, C&O, the canal, and there's some really great hiking. You can do light biking, walking, and it's just a way to get outdoors, which, again, is all permitted currently during this phase 1. So it's, again, really great for your mental health and for people just to get outdoors and enjoy some of the sunshine.
Thank you. Okay, so most counties and cities have canceled 4th of July parades and fireworks. Do you have anything to tell us about, and this is for anyone, what your counties or the state might be doing to celebrate the 4th of July?
I guess I can jump in. In
Okay.
Ocean City, we have not canceled our fireworks. At this point, they were contracted with the firework company, and we are awaiting the governor's decision on types of gatherings and numbers and restrictions. But at this point, we felt that it was very important for a mental health perspective, to not cancel the fireworks. So there's plenty of space to spread out on the beach. I know I see a question that's come through in terms of beaches. There's plenty of open space on a beach, so you can spread your blanket out wide and far. At this point, we are moving forward with July 4th.
Okay. Audrey, how about you?
Well, in Baltimore County, almost every one of our 4th of July celebrations, whether they be parades or fireworks, are coordinated by our chambers of commerce or community associations. So at this point, I believe most of them have canceled. The county government or even our office, we don't coordinate these events. But at this point, I believe mostly all. I have not heard of any that are still going on. I think they're all canceled.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, how about you?
No official cancellations yet, but what I expect over that weekend and that holiday are a lot of family gatherings, and there's opportunities for that, either in your home social distancing or at any of the restaurants that offer outdoor seating or the wineries or the breweries. So even if we are not able to pull off the fireworks in large crowds, there will be other ways to potentially enjoy the fireworks.
Hey, thank you. All right, so what do you think Marylanders can do to help each other, like local business and the entire state in the area of tourism to get a recovery?
Can I take that one first?
Yes, you can.
I would just make a plea that everybody buy local, that we have a lot of small boutique stores. We have a lot of wineries and breweries, and we offer a lot of great products, especially this time of year in Maryland. And I would just encourage everybody to buy local and plan your family trip and stay in Maryland to help move our economy as fast as possible.
I would echo those comments. In fact, early on, we actually created a gift card program back at the beginning of April. So there were lots of restaurants and hotels who said, okay, if you buy a $100 gift card, we'll make the value $125. So we were trying to help the people while they could help us locally. And it really is all about the fact that we have so many awesome, amazing things in Maryland. As Leslie mentioned, from the beach to the bay to the mountains, you can pretty much do anything you want to do in Maryland. So there's plenty of opportunity for travel. And I think Marylanders are going to have to support Marylanders to get our feet back, because, travel is actually, I just read this, and Kelly, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's the Great Travel Depression. So, some businesses are in a recession. The travel industry is in a depression. We are really, really hurting.
Most tourism offices, and whether they be government or CVBs, they do share a nice portion of the hotel tax from their counties and the city, of course. And of course, with people not coming in, not staying in hotels, that makes it, pretty much puts a nice chunk into what the grant program is that we do receive from the state. A lot of it is based on the hotel tax. So until we really get, folks coming back into our counties and our state, we will be hurting for a little while. But like everyone prior to me has said, we need to really support our local businesses and our restaurants. And yeah, we have a huge, I think Montgomery County is the only one that beats us for the restaurant industry in Baltimore County. And of course, they've been hurting terribly. So they were all very happy to get this, outdoor dining. But, most of them are still having the carry out and curbside deliveries available.
I'll just share this morning, I was on a call with a colleague from Marriott Corporate, and he shared this good news. I know it doesn't sound like good news, but it truly is when you look at where China had started. And he said that every Marriott property in China has now reopened. And they are at close to 40% occupancy. And I know, 6 months ago, that would sound low, but it sounds awesome now. And so seeing that recovery and that wave maybe passing and coming through our way, there's a lot of hope. So just have to keep plugging along.
So we actually have some questions that have been coming in. So I'm, Susan, I see you've already responded to Ocean City, but maybe you can go ahead and I'll read the question and you can answer it. Ocean City, could anyone on the panel clarify if people are allowed to go and sit on the beach in the water while respecting social distancing? That came up for Ocean City, but it has also come up with Rocky Point Beach, Sandy Point, and Chesapeake beaches.
I can actually jump in on that. The best thing to do is actually to double check. Rocky Point, Sandy Point, all those are part of the State Park Service. And although they are open, all the outdoor areas and spaces, it's best to check with each of those individual locations to see what those restrictions are. Because again, right now, folks are allowed to be open, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are. And if they are, then yes, what we've heard from is that those spaces again are considered low risk. And that as long as folks are socially distancing themselves, that you are allowed to go and sit in the beaches and be in the water. Right now, it's being considered as part of the fitness category. So again, it's kind of those loose gray area there of what exactly it's considered. But yeah, it's the best just to double check with anything before you go. And a lot of the websites have been really great resources to keep that stuff up to date.
So that's another good reminder that we will have all the websites available at the end of the webinar. It definitely isn't things as normal, so checking websites are going to be important this summer.
I know Rocky Point, that actually falls within Baltimore County, although it is a state park. I believe they are open, of course, with social distancing, but I do believe the water aspect has to be approved by our health department before people are encouraged to get in the water. Yes, always call before you go.
Water might be a little cold yet anyway.
Exactly. I'm not sure I'd like to get in.
Okay, Susan, how about Ocean City? Are we seeing people in that water?
I was absolutely shocked that I saw people swimming. Personally, I wait until August because that's when it's warm enough for me. There are definitely people swimming. Our lifeguards got on duty right at Memorial Day weekend, so we have guards in the stands, and we pretty much say don't go in the ocean unless there's a lifeguard in the stand for your own safety. But you definitely can hop in the water now, absolutely. And even with pools, so there was, a lot of the pools were not able to be open, but now the pools are open with capacity restrictions as well at the hotels.
So I know this is a question on a lot of people's minds as we open up the restaurants, even for outdoor seating. We had someone write in and ask if you can explain how the PPE restrictions work for both the customers and for the employees in our restaurants.
I'm happy to jump in on that one if you'd like. We in Ocean City, we became really anxious the minute the stay-at-home order was put in. We said, oh gosh, our season is only 2 months away. What can we do to make sure that we still have a season? Because Ocean City is a resort community. So we only have June, July, and August to make the profits of an entire 12-month period like other people around the state. So early on, we jumped in as a community and we formed the Ocean City Recovery Team, which includes people from our Chamber of Commerce, our Hotel Motel Restaurant Association, the mayor, the government staff, the health department, our delegate, our senator. So we pulled together any public and private person that would be affected. And we created these operational guidelines. And then we submitted those to the State Office of Tourism for their state task force. These guidelines are all about safety. And number one, first and foremost, how do we protect our employees? Because we have to get the employees to come into the restaurants and the hotels in order to service the guests. So we immediately started doing things like, okay, we have to wear masks. We have to have even the face shield. We have to use single-use condiments in a restaurant, disposable silverware, disposable menus, things like that. The National Restaurant Association and the American Hotel and Lodging Association, along with the CDC, have put in place all kinds of different operational guidelines that are now, they have been adopted by the state. So there is a long set of criteria that people have to follow in order to operate safely. So in terms, I do see the question specifically refers to temperature checks. Most of our business owners are checking the temperatures of their employees. They are not checking the temperatures of the guest, because in a lot of this, we all have to remember personal responsibility has got to fall somewhere. And if you're not comfortable enough to travel, then maybe you shouldn't do that yet. But you have to, wash your hands in the restaurants and in the hotels. The hand sanitizing stations are at each, by the elevator, by the front desk. So anything that you can see on the CDC website has been suggested and implemented here. And our local health department is the enforcement agent. So they've been going around town, all over the weekend, and they're going there now. And, everybody is concerned because we want to make you guys feel safe because we want you to travel.
Thank you, Susan. I'm ready to go to Ocean City. Kelly, how about Montgomery County?
I agree with Susan. The American Hotel Lodging Association, National Restaurant Association, been great resources for us to use on guidelines. And, if a restaurant is not comfortable yet and feels they're not ready, they won't open. They will know when the time is right for them to open. Either they can't open because they can't make the numbers work for the capacity. This will be more in phase 2, but they, until they know that they can have those guidelines in place, they probably will not open. But those that are open, have trained their staff and they're ready and they're not going to take any risks.
So are they wearing masks or gloves or?
Yes, so they definitely are wearing, all the servers are wearing masks, the hostesses are wearing masks. And I didn't address the specific question I see about the restrooms. So one of the guidelines is actually that the people put these social distancing marks on the floors leading up to the restrooms. So, if somebody's in the restroom, then you got to stand back at the socially distanced mark. So, it's all about putting out the signage and making sure that everyone is aware and they can do their part so that we can all be responsible.
And you'll find it, some of the wineries and breweries, they have already put reservation technology on their websites. So you can reserve a time slot of 2 to 2.5 hours to go visit a winery or a brewery. So, they've been ahead of this and are ready and can reopen and be able to kind of manage the crowds.
Right.
We've also heard I was actually on a WebEx with Marjorie for Baltimore County, and there's a lot of discussion about closing roads in order for restaurants to expand their seating in order to do outdoors. Marjorie, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The road closures, of course, are going to require a permit. It will involve our Public Works Department. It will eventually even involve our police department. So I think at this point, no roads have been closed, but most of the restaurants where they're able they are coming out to the sidewalks. Of course, the roads that would be closed where there are, like little main streets involved, like for example, Towson, that's the prime spot. They're able to close if they do, in fact, but then you have Main Street on Reisterstown Road. I don't think you can close Reisterstown Road. You can't close York Road. I mean, it of course depends on the location, but I think at this point, most of them are making do by just coming out onto the sidewalks and putting umbrellas up. Some are even going out onto their parking lots. But I'm sure they'll be happy when we go into another phase so they can go inside, but.
So our initiative is called Shared Streets. The Montgomery County Department of Transportation, of course, is supporting physically distanced activity, but they are working with like downtown Bethesda, downtown Silver Spring, to be able to use the closing down streets so that restaurants can move tables and have higher capacity.
Mm-hmm. And there's the other quote unquote problem is, of course, open liquor containers, and that would involve even more policing, so to speak. But I think at this point, everyone's just happy to be open somewhat, have their outdoor dining, and everyone is basic. I haven't heard of anything negative, and I know our county executive was on a couple TV shows last night saying how wonderfully this has gone for those that were able to open. So outdoor dining, of course.
In the state of Maryland and all of your counties, we have a lot of arts and entertainment happening outdoors. Have we heard anything about anything that'll happen this summer? Do we expect to see outdoor concerts? Do we expect to, see people gathering for, festivals?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to jump in from the statewide perspective. A lot of the concerts, festivals, those larger scale events are part of the stage 3 opening. So again, until I think we reach that point, you're seeing a lot of these events being canceled. I'm sure folks heard locally with Baltimore City canceling all summer events pretty much through August. And then you're seeing others that haven't necessarily been canceled or they're being postponed. Another thing that's happening across the state and actually across the country is you're seeing a lot of these festivals go virtual. Delfest is a huge music festival that kicks off Memorial Day weekend, kind of kicks off the summer out in Western Maryland, and they took it virtual. This month is Gay Pride Month, and you're seeing some of the Pride Festival activities go virtual. Maryland Film Festival postponed, and they've gone virtual. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a shift with that this summer until we kind of, people kind of navigate through what can and can't be done. And then obviously some of the more smaller scale things that are, you're talking maybe like 50 people, 100 people, where it's a lot of it easier to maintain the crowds. You'll see that stuff get integrated in.
I think what's difficult from our perspective is our neighboring state of Delaware has just announced that yesterday you can have gatherings of up to 250 people. So I had a wedding venue that was right on the border of Maryland and Delaware who literally can't do any weddings yet, but just a mile, not even a mile, literally you could step your foot onto Delaware and they're allowed to do weddings for 250 people. So, it's very difficult to make sense of some of the things that are coming down. We all want health and safety to be first and foremost, and we understand that, but we keep seeing the numbers on a downward trend. So hopefully we will see some more openings in phase 2 here within hopefully this week.
Great. And we are hopefully coming into phase 2 shortly. Kelly, you mentioned when we spoke earlier about tournaments, youth tournaments happening in Montgomery County. Are they happening?
Well, we're going to find out because Montgomery County is hosting a lacrosse tournament and a postponed soccer tournament starting July 10th. Actually, from July 10th all the way through the end of July, we have a tournament every weekend. So we're on pins and needles waiting to see how far we get into the recovery. US Lacrosse came out with, they put together a medical advisory committee to develop their recommendations, and they have their reopening set up into 5 stages. And I think we're at like stage 2 right now, but things move quickly. So we're going to hope that we can get to a point where we can welcome some of these youth sports events back. It's really important that the kids be outside and come back to some normalcy, but we also have to be very safe.
And we know parents are looking forward to those tournaments. They missed graduations this year. You can't have them miss tournaments too. Marjorie or Susan, do either of you have any type of tournament happening?
Not so much a tournament, but we did have a Guinness pub run that was scheduled for April. And we, of course, they postponed that. I believe it's now going to be rescheduled for September.
Okay.
Just got a email just yesterday. The Maryland Cycling Classic, and of course, Leslie knows about this. That too has been postponed until next year. And a lot of the tournaments that do take place within, Baltimore County, I hate to say this, but they have moved to Harford County. But we do benefit from that because we do get the parents who stay in the hotels, and the hotels overflow into Baltimore County. But I don't know if those tournaments are taking place this year or not.
Yeah, we pretty much lost our June tournaments, and a lot of the July stuff is canceled as well. And a large event that just canceled, much to our dismay, was the cheerleading competitions. So, that was like 10,000 attendees. So we really, there's nothing going on in terms of conventions. So we're really very devastated in terms of group business.
Yeah, there's a lot of large meeting space in Maryland, whether it be conference centers, convention centers. They will be the last piece of our economy to recover because of the inability to have large group gatherings.
So that brings me to back to wineries and breweries. A lot of them do have outdoor space. Do we expect to see more events or maybe smaller events happening there?
I do know that Bordy, they have resumed their Saturday night jazz nights. They are limiting the folks that can come in. And as Kelly said, you go online and purchase a ticket, a reservation. So they know exactly how many. They're going to have a cutoff, of course. I think they're limiting the amount of folks that can come in. And of course, everything will be outside. They're asking, like as usual, social distancing, spot pots are available. They have mentioned that if you need to go into the tasting room for any reason, of course, 6 feet apart, must wear a mask. So I do know that Dijon Vineyards is doing pretty much the same thing. They have their weekend events, music. They have put out, I don't know how many picnic tables, and it's basically the same. So yeah, and I know our breweries, they were of course having curbside pickup, etc. And there is some outside seating, but you know what? I'm going to see if and of course they're treated much like the restaurants. They can do outdoor, quote unquote, I guess, drinking instead of dining. But I'll have to check on that. Yeah.
And that's what we
getting back
saw.
into the swing. Yeah.
Our newest winery that opened last year, Windmill Creek, is out in the county. and she became an outdoor dining facility on Friday at 5 o'clock. She had a food truck pull up, she had picnic tables outside, and she had spaces marked off with little circles of where you could sit so that you would be socially distanced apart.
Right.
And as
Good.
you mentioned, if you had to go inside and use the restroom, you had to wear a mask. So again, it's kind of all coming back to personal responsibility and your level of comfort as a traveler.
Mhm.
It also sounds like many of our businesses and restaurants have gotten very creative.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, let me take one more question. What are you doing to help cash-strapped businesses promote their reopening activities? What are they asking for you to do?
I'll start with just on the restaurant side. When restaurants closed down, we immediately created a site called MoCo Eats, where we have 1,500 restaurants in the county. And so we created a website where the restaurant owners could go in and post their listing, but also tell the consumers and the residents whether or not they were going to provide curbside service. So we're kind of using that site to do the same thing as a site for the residents to visit to get updates on who's open, who's offering curbside service, and who's offering seating. And, unfortunately, us marketers are very limited in marketing dollars right now. So we're really relying on, and I know Leslie can speak after me to this, but we're really relying on social media in all sectors and in cross communications to make sure that we're getting the word out to the residents and regionally so that we can get people to these establishments to help them. Leslie, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think to your point, social media, this is really the perfect opportunity to do things on social media. I know some folks like to stay off of it and everything, but it's a really great way that doesn't cost anything to help with these openings. It's also something that we do as also PR professionals is working with the media. I mean, I know we spoke earlier in the panel about some of the, I guess, misperceptions that the media do put out there. But, again, that's part of our responsibility is to try to get out ahead of those. So, we've been working a lot with our local media and broadcast stations to promote a lot of the positive stories that are out there. Early on in the COVID situation, the distilleries weren't producing the liquor. They were using it to make hand sanitizers and working with a lot of the local officials and the hospitals and the medical teams to provide those supplies to them. So, for us, helping these businesses, of course, is our priority. And again, focusing on the local communities and for the folks, out there and all the Maryland residents is support your local communities and businesses, because without that, then the visitors won't be coming in. If they don't see the stability in these local towns and communities, it's hard out there. So we really just need to focus on the messaging and that we're open. I mean, that's been sort of the tagline that's being used. I mean, the governor also uses, open for business. The state tourism office, we constantly say, we're open for you, we're open for it, we're open for everything. So it's as long as folks are ready and willing, again, just whatever your comfort level is, I think it's just really getting that message out there. And for those businesses that are in need and help, we're all in the same boat here across the board. So I think you're seeing a little bit more of that community strength that's happening, across sectors and across the industry, which is really great. And I think a lot of these folks have been teaming up together. So you're even seeing some of the restaurants that are teaming up with other businesses and offering joint curbside pickups, which is really great. And it's a time to be creative. And I think that's where everybody's kind of at right now, is just looking for another way to kind of pivot and evolve. And I think if they can kind of get over that hump, then they're seeing the success on the other side.
And Louise, just to touch on the point that you said about the creativeness, and like Leslie said, I've been in touch with the media, to get out and cover some of our more creative restaurateurs. For example, Lib's Grill, this was during curbside and, pickup. They were coming out in costumes. So it was like, oh, let's see who's coming out now. So, and they geared some of them towards the children. I saw Elsa from Frozen come out. And Bordy, they have a touch-free flight of wine tasting. And I don't know who did this, but they have created, it's like a little holder. And the wine sits in, it's 6 wines that you get to taste, and they bring it out to you, put it on your table. You take the holder away, and it's all touch-free, outdoors. So yeah, they're all coming up with the different creative things to do. I mean, they have to. It's just, you got to do it. And yeah, so I do, make touch with the media, present these, stories to them, as well as I tell you, our Facebook has been crazy. So I must post about 10 a day on there just to, let the folks know who's open, who's serving what's going on with our poor little museums that haven't opened yet, but, keep everyone posted.
And we're doing much of the same with all the social media. One of the things that we did early on was we recognized the fact that we have to make sure that everybody feels comfortable enough to travel. So we went to our business partners and took little 3-second clips of them with their protocols, their masks, their signs, and we created videos, little short videos that show the protocols that are in place. And then we've been posting those out all over digital places. One of the things we did early on, just like Kelly, we created a page where the local restaurateurs could go and put their daily deals up. And now we have an outdoor dining list. So all of those lists, we've actually created a pretty little flyer that we send to the hotels. And then the hotels are posting those on their front desk so that when guests check in, they can see where they're supposed to go for the latest and greatest list. And then we're also encouraging the hotels to go back to the people who may have canceled over the last 8-10 weeks. Send them, we miss you, we want to see you emails, and give them a really dynamite offer that they can't refuse. But more importantly, when they do send these emails out to their guests who may have canceled, or even to any potential guests, they have got to show everything that they've put into place to make the guests safe and to make the employees safe. So they're listing everything they're doing. Like, you may expect housekeeping to be different during your stay. Rather than putting the housekeepers in the rooms every single day, we might just put the housekeepers in upon the checkout, so that there's limited interaction among people is really the goal of all of this. So I think the most important thing that we're doing is we're encouraging our businesses to communicate. So they've got to communicate what the protocols are that are in place. They've got to communicate what their deals are. They've got to communicate the positive stories that they've done. Like, one of the things that we did early on was we created a mental wellness counseling fund so that any hospitality worker who needed mental health counseling could go to our local counseling center and get free mental health counseling. So we did that early on. There are a lot of banks, workers. So really, it's just been a matter of completely working together to, as a community, figure out how to get through this. And yeah, shout out to Mark McFowle of Ropeblog. He's one of our really innovative restaurateurs. So it's actually he, Steve Murphy, and Chris Rita, who are all TU alumni, and they have Ropeblog. They also have Alley Oops Uptown that they just opened, and they're in the middle of opening Alley Oops Midtown, which I can see from my office window, and it's going to be a really awesome place. Fortunately, they're very smart guys, so they figured out how to find the PPP funding. Now, of course, the funding from the government is running out. So that's another thing that our communities have been faced with. While the PPP money is running out and you have to spend it in a certain amount of weeks, there's all kinds of strings attached to some of these monies. So, many different pieces to this puzzle. It's not just about, we got to make sure everybody's safe. There's just so many pieces of this puzzle.
All right, we're also seeing a few other restaurants here owned by alumni. Marjorie, I think we have Mother's Grill in your county. That's Dave Rather. And then we
Yes.
have Brad Reeder at Reeder's Crab House and Melanie Wagner at Charles Village Pub. We all know
That's that.
that, Towson.
All right. I think we all hung out at Charles Village Pub, didn't we? I know that's where I went.
Everybody
I have to
still
give a-
goes.
Give a little shout out to Dave from Mother's Grill. Today, Dave was on Midday Maryland on WMAR talking about, of course, what else? Outdoor dining, you know, and curbside pickup. And actually, Dave, if you can hear, I DVR'd you, so I'll be looking at it. It came on at noon, but I'll also post it on Facebook. See, another free advertisement. We always look for free. Very good, Dave. Thanks for doing that.
Well, we're about to wrap up, but before we go, what's one final piece of advice you'd like to give the audience, or a takeaway? What would you like them to know?
I would say call before you go anywhere, just to be on the safe side. And I think Jenna's going to send out all those links. If you're unsure, check those links and just call before you go.
How about you, Kelly?
Buy local, travel. Can you hear me? Buy local, travel regional.
Very good. And Susan?
Exactly. I was definitely going to hit the you got to stay in Maryland. There are so many amazing places to see and lots of things to do, tons of nature trails. I personally love to just go get a carry-out meal and sit on the beach and watch the ocean. Very relaxing.
And Leslie, what would you like to tell us?
Yeah, I agree. This is the perfect opportunity to check out all those local places that you just never had the time to do or go to that are all pretty much in your backyard, and support those local businesses. It's a great opportunity to do that and take our road trips, get inspired, lots of virtual things online. Just again, know before you go and just double check.
Oh, I like that. Know before you go. That's an easy one to remember. Well, thank you all very much. I know I've learned a lot today. I thank the people that had the questions they sent in, and I'll turn it back over to Jenna.
Thank you, panelists, and thank you, Louise, for going through some of those questions. I did see one question pop in that I just want to give panelists a chance to answer if you have a second. It just seems to be that we're looking for maybe some virtual resources that are available to share with some possible attendees at colleges that we're trying to recruit to the Baltimore area. So are there any virtual tours that can be provided of the Baltimore County area, Baltimore City, or any of your other respective areas to try to entice visitors and also students to come to campus?
I'll give that one to Leslie.
Okay. Yeah, so actually on our it's visitmaryland.org, our website, we have a listing of just a number of different virtual experiences that a lot of these museums, attractions, sites, even outdoor recreational places that you can kind of get a great just look at everything. And then even I talked about our scenic byways earlier and some of the road trips. We have some really great videos on a number of our byways, which is, again, an opportunity. We're kind of looking at it as like taking a virtual road trip that kind of gives you a deeper look into the landscape and some of the activities, even though they're not all open at the moment, but they are there. So for folks who are recruiting, it gives you a great taste of just what's out there just by watching these videos.
Thank you, Leslie. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this panel discussion on tourism in Maryland after COVID-19. Thank you to Louise and all of our panelists. I really enjoy the talk, and I know a lot of other people appreciate it as well as we move into the summer travel season. As you can see in your window right now, here's a list of all different tourism resources that are available for both the state and then also county levels. You can also follow the different counties and state on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and their handles are listed in your window as well. We are actually working on a restaurant panel that we're hoping that will go live, I guess, in July. So please stay tuned for that. Make sure you also follow the TU Alumni Association on our social media channels and on Tiger Connect, our alumni community. That's all in your window now. You can see those details. And we hope you can join us for another one of our live events and webinars. You can learn more about these events at alumni.towson.edu/events. Next Tuesday, we're hosting a webinar on real estate in a time of social distancing with our alumna Gersha Porter. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.